Hello, everyone. This is Arbaaz Hashmy from MPOWER Financing. It's really good to be here with GMAT Club, talking to some of the prospective students who are planning their education in the US or Canada. And I'm here to help you out with some of the options that you can use to fund your education. Let me just share my screen, and I'll talk a little bit about my organization, who I am, what do I do, and how can we help you in their education. Okay. So, as I said, I belong to a company called MPOWER Financing, and my company name is Arbaaz Hashmy, and I help manage partnerships for the organization, partnerships like GMAT Club, wherein we reach out to prospective and admitted students and help them out with financing their education. The agenda for today is pretty short, and I would like to keep it short as well. Just bear with me, and if I a little stray, please feel free to reach out and let me know. That I don't want to elongate this as well. Just want to wrap this up in about 20 minutes, and then we can take care of any questions that you guys might have. We'll start with the introduction, and then a little bit about the organization. Where did we start? Why do we do what we do? Then we talk a little bit about the nitty-gritties of an MPOWER loan, the specifics of what we offer to the students when we actually send out a visa approval letter. Then we talk a little bit about two initiatives that we run along with an MPOWER loan, which are Path to Success and scholarships, which are pretty essential for any international student going into the US. And lastly, we will cover any questions that the students might have. Let me just hide the screen. Okay, let's deep dive into a little bit about the history and how did we start. Incidentally, we were started by two international students themselves, Manu and Mike, who studied in the US and realized back in 2014 that the current funding options for international students were very conservative, very backward looking, and focused primarily on the family of the student instead of the student itself. And that is when they decided that something new has to come in this space, and in order to help the students. And as a result, MPOWER Financing came into existence with a model that actually focused a lot on the students and only on the students, to be honest. It's been 7 years since that time, and we've grown a lot. We have developed a good team. And all in all, which we have tried to stay true to our mission to make sure that socioeconomic mobility should be borderless, and really try to help very deserving students for their aspirations and help them make a pretty awesome careers for themselves. In order to do that, we have built a pretty international team ourselves. And a lot of us are former international students who understand the pain points and would really want to help the students who are going through the same journey. And that's exactly what we try to do, why we do what we do every day. We are really passionate about helping international students, and that's exactly what drives us. So far, in the last 7 years, we have collected numerous accolades from US News, NerdWallet. We fund into the 50 states of US plus 4 provinces of Canada. We work with the top 350 universities in the US and Canada. A little stat about that: 81% of all international students in the US are actually studied in the 330 universities that we work with in the US. So that's a pretty good overlap. If there's a high chance that if you are admitted to the US, your university would be eligible with us. As of now, we have processed up to $1 billion in loan applications, and there are 200 plus countries that we support in terms of receiving applications from. So there would be a very little chance that you belong to a country or a geography where we do not fund, and you're pretty much eligible for an MPOWER loan for us. Yeah. And then a little bit talk about the nitty-gritties of it and why an MPOWER loan fits, the entire structure of an international student journey. I would talk a little bit about the funding challenge that the students face in their entire journey, which is that they have, when they are admitted, a lot of students have an option of getting their education financed by their home country lenders. They could be banks or private lenders with, residing in their home countries. And what we have seen historically is that these lenders take, or at least want to collect some sort of a collateral or at least a co-signer, and requires significant paperwork and bank visits. And that's been very regressive in our experience. That's primarily focuses on the parents and the income of the parents as well. There is another option for the students, which is the US bank and the lenders, which are within the US, but also require a US co-signer, which is true for a very small segment of students in our experience. And these problems do not really solve for the majority of the students going into the US. That's where an Empower loan makes sense, which is the only US-based lender for international students without co-signers and without collateral. And how do we do that? Is make sure that we create a proper 21st century loan, which is digital, which is a student focused, which does not really require a cosigner, collateral, or a credit history. I mean, if you have one, we will look into it, but there is no requirement from our side to have a credit history before you apply to us. One of the unique thing about us is that we offer fixed rate of interest, something that we'll talk a little bit in detail in the later half of the presentation. We offer, which now when I say fixed rate of interest, that means that the interest rate never increases, but we do offer some interest rate discounts, which means that it might not go up, but it can certainly come down. And we'll talk a little bit in detail about these discounts too. So hold on to that. The maximum term that we offer is a 10-year term after the course ends, plus 6 months of grace period. And the maximum loan amount that we offer to our students is $50,000 US, which can cover tuition, housing, meals, or any other expenses your school would invoice you to. One of the easiest thing that we work with is a direct disbursement to the school, which really helps our students in avoiding any sort of an administrative hassles. And at the same time, that extra Forex transaction charges that they might incur if they take a disbursement in their home currency and then get it converted into a US dollar before sending it to the school for their fee deposit, which the student can totally avoid in our case. Since we are a US-based lender, a loan from us would actually help students in building their credit history. Now, for those of you who have an insight into the importance of a credit history within the US, you would know what I'm talking about. It's fairly significant to actually, have a credit history in the US because it's applicable and it's used in so many places. You want to rent a house, a credit check would be required. You want to rent lease a car, definitely a credit history would be required. At some cases, even a potential employer would also do a credit check for some candidates. And that's why a good credit score is really an advantage in the US. Another unique thing about us is a free visa support letter that we offer on the approval of loan, which can be used for the I-20 as well as the visa interview processes as well. And since we are a US lender, it really helps the whole process a little smoothly as well also. And when I say that it's a free visa support letter, I actually mean that the entire application process is free of cost. You do not pay anything to us until the disbursement happens. And we'll talk a little bit about that too in detail in the next few slides. But I just want to put it out there so that there's you guys can actually absorb, and then maybe we can move forward with something. Lastly, we do not incur any sort of a prepayment penalty to the student. And in fact, we encourage if the student wants to prepay the loan, within even a year or 2 years to us, it's totally all right with us. There would be no penalty to any student of that sort. And there is no minimum capping that, hey, you need to take the loan for at least 6 months or even a 1 year duration before you can prepay the loan. Nothing of that sort. Having said that, let's dive a little bit into detail about the loan. I won't go through the entire process, the entire details of that, but maybe touch the important aspects. Since we are in an MBA forum, I'll talk a little bit about the applicable interest rates for the graduate programs, which are the MBAs. So for a graduate student or an MBA candidate, a fixed rate of interest starts at 11.99. And there are 3 interest rate discounts of 0.5% each. So that brings the interest rate down to 10.49 effectively. There is an origination fee of 5%, but it gets added to the disbursed amount, which means that you don't have to pay anything upfront, but that amount becomes, like, for example, if you take a $50,000 loan of a disbursement, 5% of that is about $2,500. So your total amount becomes 52,500. So any interest that you pay is on that amount. Simple. A minimum amount of loan starts at $2,001, and we give up to $25,000 per academic term. Now, when I say academic term, it's totally on the students to actually decipher that. It could be a semester, it could be a trimester, or it could be a whole year as well. Students are free to choose $25,000 for 1 year and $25,000 for another year, or $25,000 for one semester and then another $25,000 for a next semester. So it totally depends on how the student wants to avail that loan from us. A repayment process starts with an interest-only payment after the disbursement happens for the duration of the program, plus 6 months as a grace period after the program ends. And something about this interest-only payment, we'll talk a little bit about that, of how actually you can save money while paying in school. And we'll at the next few slides, we'll cover a little bit about that. But one of the best things about making interest-only payments while in school is that the student would actually get a credit history built. And with that, the student would be eligible for a lot of financial services within the US as well. Even the services which are catered to international students at some point of time require credit history to be able to service them. And with us, that's pretty much possible. Moving on to the interest rate discounts, which is a pretty exciting thing. And these, if you look at it, these discounts are not very typical or not very complex. For example, the first discount a student can avail without even making the first payment. The student takes a disbursement and he or she opts to repay the loan using an auto pay feature from a bank account. He or she, they do that and they get an instant 0.5% discount. They make 6 continuous payments on time using that auto pay feature. They get another 0.5% discount. Having said that, in just 6 months, the interest rate drops from 11.99 to 10.99. A student graduates and gets a full-time employment. They submit a proof to us. They get another 0.5% discount. By the time they graduate, they can easily get their loan interest diminished by about 1.5%. That is something that's pretty unique. Not a lot of lenders actually, in fact, in my experience, no other lender actually offers something like that, which caters to a good credit behavior and good academic record. And we reward these things because we want to make sure that our students really have awesome careers going forward. Another thing that we talk a little bit about, how interest-only payment helps you save money. So let's take these 2 examples of an MPOWER loan, the one in the yellow, and there's maybe some other loan which does not really requires a student to make the interest-only payments while in school. Let's assume the principal, the borrowed amount is the same as $21,000, and let's, for the sake of calculation, let's assume if the interest rate charged is 12% per annum. So for a $21,000 loan, the in-school payments become $210, while for the other loan, it's nil. Now, when the student graduates, the principal amount, the borrowed amount, stays $21,000 only, because if all the interest that was accrued was already paid during the school. Whereas in the other loan, by the time the student is graduated, the debt has increased because the interest that was applied to the loan amount was not paid at all. So any interest that would, or any payments that the student would make from here on would be on $26,246, not on the original borrowed amount. And in doing so, their repayment amount, their EMIs are much higher, first of all, and then the overall amount that they would repay would be higher too. So here, for an MPOWER loan, a $21,000 over a period of 10 years would require you to pay $42,386. Whereas for a different loan, which does not require you to pay during the school, the overall financing charges, the overall amount that the student would repay is about $46,000, more than $46,000. That in itself is a difference of approximately $4,000 that the student would save while making interest-only payments and making sure that they don't pay extra during the course of the loan. Some other things that we want to talk about are the fixed interest and variable interest, and how do they actually help student going forward. First and foremost, we already know that we are living in pretty uncertain times with everything that's been happening, the market collapsing and all of that. For a fixed interest rate, it simply means that any sort of a market fluctuation, the lender absorbs the risk. Like, for example, tomorrow, if there is a recession or any sort of a financial market collapse, God forbid, that doesn't happen, that shouldn't happen. But if that happens, Empower will absorb all the risk on your loan. Your interest rate would not increase at all. Whereas in a variable interest rate, that entire risk would be transferred to you. No absorption would happen at the lender's side, and they would really just pass it on to you. Another thing is that the interest rate would never increase on a fixed rate, whereas from a variable rate of interest, as the name suggests, there would be some unpredictable interest rates, and which also means that the monthly payments that you would make with Empower would be pretty fixed for the duration of the loan, which simply means that you can actually budget your entire loan right from day one. That, hey, I would be making these certain amount of payment for the first 30 months, and then for the next 120 months, this is how much I need to pay. Whereas for any other loan which requires you to have a variable rate of interest, would be some sort of a budget planning that would be required at your end from time to time. As and when the interest rate changes, your monthly payments would change as well. And that's exactly a few of the areas why going for an Empower loan is definitely better. It's a fixed rate of interest, no collateral, no cosigner, and at the same time, the entire process is free of cost. There is no charge to apply. On approval of the loan, the student gets a free visa support letter from our side. They are very much free to use that for their I-20 as well as for the visa interviews. But in order to apply for an Empower loan, there's a key criteria that the student needs to fill. We have about, like I said in the start, that we work with about 350 universities in US and Canada. In order to be eligible for an Empower loan, the student needs to be admitted in one of the degree-seeking programs in one of these schools. When I say degree, I simply mean a program which is not a certificate course or a diploma is eligible for an Empower loan, and they need to be within 2 years of graduation. So assuming that all the attendees here are going to start their MBA programs this year, you guys would pretty much fit their bill perfectly. You have about 2 years of education in front of you, and that's exactly how you could totally apply for the fall 21 intake as well. The process from the eligibility check to a decision goes from that the student checks their eligibility within under a minute. Once they're eligible, they can start their application with us, which requires about less than 30 minutes to fill. It's majorly student focused, which talks about their personal information, their professional information, which means their work experience of the past, their education history, the program that they're going for, and maybe any test scores they would want to report to us. And then lastly, their financial plan. How do they plan to fund their education? So whatever that amount could be, or how much do they want to take as a loan from us, borrow from us, and if there are any other savings that they want to put in their education, we just need to talk about that. Once they fill in and everything looks good, we receive a conditional offer within 2 to 3 days. And based on that, the student is required to submit the documents to verify all the information that they have put in the application process. Once we receive the application, once you receive the documents, a credit team reviews them, and in about 3 to 5 business days, we receive a final decision. And with that decision, if it's an approval, like I said, we would give you a visa support letter that could be used for your immigration purposes. Once you're done with all the approval stages, just make sure that you reach out to us, let us know that you want to take a loan from us. We'll reach out to your school, get them to verify your enrollment and tell us your exact fee schedule. So what I mean by here is that we would never actually want to disburse loan amount that is more than what you require. We actually take the requirement from your school. So if the school says that in this semester the student only requires $10,000, we'll only disburse $10,000. There would be no burden on you for extra amount that's to be disbursed. We really would follow the fee schedule that the school has provided us with. With that process, we have funded a lot of students. And here I want to talk a little bit about why we have been able to help so many students as well. It's because of our ideology of moving away from being a traditional lender, to be honest, which simply means that we want to make sure that we make money when our borrowers will make money. Like we understand that our borrowers will only be able to repay us when they have pretty awesome careers, when they have jobs, we look at our borrowers as an investment, not as a liability. And in sync with that ideology, we created this program called Path to Success. We understand that international students coming to the US need a lot of support, a support that cannot be very well be tangified as well, which could be about the immigration information, which could be about coaching about how the US job market works, or how a network, for example, networking is a pretty big factor in getting a job or even an internship in the US. And a lot of students who come to the US are not really well acquainted in that, because their home countries never required them to do so. And how do they make that shift? How do they make sure that they actually are able to adapt into that environment and get that going? How do we make sure that the students have the right resume for their job, for the job hunt? These are some of the many supports, one of the many assistance that actually we do in this program. One of the major testament for this was last year when COVID-19 happened. A lot of our borrowers definitely struggled, and I think that's not a news to everyone. But we stuck with them. We helped them in making sure that they go well above and beyond, to actually get that job for themselves. And we're really proud to say that we were there to help them out. We were there to make sure that they require whatever they require from our side, assistance, networking. We reach out, or we do best to our abilities to provide them that. And another thing that we help our students with in this case is scholarships, which simply means that we definitely fund loans, but we also want to make sure that that's not all we do. There are certain students who we really want to reward because they have been doing good in the society. They have been doing good in whatever area of study or area of work that they have been into. And some of these scholarships that we have offered in the last few years has been one as a global citizen. These are some of the winners of the previous programs, previous scholarship that we have won. So there are three prizes: 5,000, 3,000, and 2,000. That is 1,000. That's exactly how we help our students. So these are the winners of our last year's scholarship winners. And then there is another one, a very women-centric scholarship that we run, Women in STEM. So any student, any female student or women who actually is in a STEM-based program can actually apply for these scholarships with us. These are some of the winners from that program. And the only eligibility for a student to be eligible to be able to take this scholarship from us is that they just need to be admitted in one of the programs at the schools that we fund to. They don't really have to take a loan from us, to be honest. It's a fairly open game and anybody can apply. They don't really have to start an application with us at all. There's a scholarship which is open to all the applicants in the world, and they can just go out and do that. Simple, such. And here I want to stop, and I want to stay true to my word and ask if there's any question that I may answer for the students. Let me check comments. Yes. Okay, I see. Yes, Sayan actually asked that European schools are not covered. Yes, Sayan, as of now, we fund the schools only in the US and Canada. We are trying to, maybe look into some other possibilities, but that's only going to happen in the future. And we definitely try to keep you guys updated on that. Issue, yes, that's exactly what I said, only US and Canada. I think, yes, I understand, Aris, that a lot of students, a lot of schools actually have a requirement of more than $150,000. But here is a unique thing about an MPOWER loan, that an MPOWER loan can be used as an additional funding option as well. So for example, that you cannot, let's assume that you get into a school which has about a 150K as a requirement for their education. You can actually couple an MPOWER loan with some other loan as well. We don't mind that at all. As long as the future income that you would generate can sustain that much debt according to our credit algorithm, it's totally all right with us. And that's exactly how a student-based credit model works, that we want to ensure that the student's future income potential can actually handle the debt that they are trying to accumulate. So if that's within the limit, it's totally cool with us. Yes, exactly. I think somebody did mention that we can use that MPOWER as an additional loan. Uh, uh, Wame, I got a conditional offer. I uploaded some of my doc and could submit, and you submitted the documents. You're going to say feedback in ways. You can actually reach out to our team. So the email address over there is empower, MPOWER.me, empower.me@empowerfinancing.com. Just reach out to us, write that email that, hey, I want to withdraw this. We'll be happy to help you out. Simple, no questions asked. Let me know if there is any doubt, and I'll be happy to write that email to you as well. Or maybe you can check at the contact us page. I'm waiting for some more questions if there are any. Oh, yes, totally. So, I mean, so maybe I misunderstood, and I'm really sorry about that. But if you want to put the processing on hold, you can do that too. With the same process that I said, that just reach out to us on that email, empower.me@empowerfinancing.com. Let us know that for now, it might be that you know, a certain document might be taking a bit of a time at your end, and you would need additional days. Just let us know that. I'll let you guys know whenever you need to, resume the processing, and we'll be happy to put that application on hold. It should not be a problem. However, there is a limit to how much we can hold. I think there's 90 days. So after 90 days, the application expires, and I'm really good. I think I might be a little wrong on that number, but it's somewhere around that. But I think you should be pretty good if the delay that you at your end is not that much. Oh yes, if you have any friend who's looking for an MPOWER loan, feel free to refer them. You would both get $100. So that's some sort of a referral program that we have run. You could find the details on that using the link that was just shared with you. Feel free to know more and let us know. Yeah. Oh, great then. Yeah, just 4 days into your 90 days. So great. So if you're asking, Srikanth, if you're asking about the scholarships that we provide, like I said, the only eligibility that we require for those scholarship application is that you need to be admitted into one of the schools that we work with, like 350 schools that we have, and the list for that could be found on our website. If you have an admit from one of these schools for a degree seeking program, you're free to apply for any scholarships that are open right now. I think the scholarship rounds are open. So feel free to go out and apply. I think there would be an essay that you'd be asked to write. Once you do that, the application committee will review and would release the results in a certain bit of time. Yes, totally. So Manoj Kumar asked that how about 1 year full-time graduate programs in the US? Like I said, the duration of the program does not really matter to us. It's just the student needs to be in the last 2 years of their graduation, within 2 years of the graduation, which simply means that this is true in this case. And if the school is in the list of MPOWER approved institutions, you're free to apply for an MPOWER loan, Manoj. I will again share that if I think a link has just been shared with you guys to start an application with us. Feel free to use that link to check your eligibility. If you're eligible for a loan with us, it just takes about 30 seconds to check your eligibility. feel free to start an application. It's a complete free of cost application process. On approval, we would provide you with a visa support letter that you can use for your application process. At the same for your visa process and use as your I-20. Feel free to take care of that. Rohit, yes, your last salary details will be required. That's pretty much because they are required for us to assess of how much have you been into your education or in your experience, and what have your experience been, and then that would be a factor of us for us to predict any future income variable in your case as well. So we would require it to present with the last pay stub in the application process, but that would be pretty much it. Srikanth, I don't believe I'd be the right person to comment on federal loans. And I think maybe definitely you can speak with someone at the GMAT club to talk about that, but I wouldn't want to talk about out of my expertise here and maybe provide you with some incorrect information. So I would defer to the GMAT club team to actually answer that question. So all over for me, yes. So you can definitely indicate if you have any written proof of expected internship. So for example, if a company has indicated that they would like to offer you an internship over any sort of a written communication, whether it's an email or maybe a document, feel free to submit that as a proof to us as well. Our team will look into it. If everything looks good, we can definitely look into understanding that, okay, you can use those earnings as a proof of personal savings too. There's a future savings that you would accumulate, and then take our decisions accordingly. But if that is the case with you, I would strongly encourage that you provide that proof to us. Happy to help, Olufamai. Yeah. Are there any other questions you guys will have? Rohit, so for living expenses, if there is not an on-campus housing provided to you, what you can do in that case is that uh, when we reach out to your school for the certification process, you can definitely indicate to the school that, for example, your tuition fee would require $40,000 and you need 10,000 on top of that as living expenses. Feel free to intimate that to your financial aid officer, with whom we'll get in touch to approve your enrollment. And in our experience, that has been a pretty straightforward process wherein they're willing to actually do that, and any sort of a additional expense is then transferred to you either by a wire transfer or they write a check. So that amount is deposited back into your account. If there are no more questions, I think we'll end the session now. Going once, going twice, sold. Yeah, it was really good to interact with you guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity, GMAT Club. And this was a really good time spent. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all who attended this session.